Now, there's different levels of confidence and competence. Competence is really what creates confidence. When you are competent at something, you will be confident at it, generally speaking. When you first started driving a car, you didn't have much experience doing it. You're hyper aware of everything. You haven't gone on autopilot yet with your driving because you haven't done it enough. You're lacking in competence, so you don't have a lot of confidence about it. But as you drive more and more, you become very confident about it, even to the point where you could drive your commute to work and not even remember having driven to work because it's all on autopilot. You're so confident about it that you're not hyper aware of it. You're not constantly thinking and making every choice, thinking through every decision. You just do it. And by the way, that is what true confidence is. I think a lot of people have the wrong idea about confidence to begin with. They see a guy running across the stage, smacking his chest and screaming at everybody, and they go, wow, I want that kind of confidence. It's not really what confidence is. Confidence isn't that puffing out your chest and strutting down the road. When I see people like that, and probably when you see people doing that, you think the opposite. That arrogance points to someone who feels insecure. Therefore, they're having to try to show to everyone else that they're actually, they're real confident, but we know that they're not. True confidence is knowing you're competent at something to the point that you don't even think about it, you just do it. However, there are plenty of people who have lots of competence, but don't have very high confidence. And there's going to be a problem. So there's different categories, I would say, and you could think of these categories as categories of people, but you could also think about you embodying probably all four categories. It just depends on the area of your life, the context of your life. So there's low competence, low confidence. When it comes to learning, let's say the Russian language, I have no competence and I have no confidence. I've never studied it. I don't know it at all. So low competence, low confidence is not a bad place to be because you don't have competence and you know it. So you're self-aware. And this is a good place to start to learn. You have an openness to it. I know I don't have the competence, so I've opened myself to learning. Then there's high competence, high confidence. You are competent and you know it. So once again, we're in good territory here. You are self-aware and you're accurate about your competence. And because you feel confident about that competence, you will do more of what you're competent at. And when you do more of that, you become more competent and more certain about your ability. So your confidence goes up more. It becomes this wonderful compounding effect. Greater the competence, greater the confidence. The greater the confidence, the more competent you become because you do more. The more competent you become, the more your confidence goes up. Then there's high competence, low confidence. And that is a problem and I think this is what most people suffer from. Why is this a problem? Because you're highly competent, but because you don't believe it, your potential is limited. You will do less. You won't try as hard. You won't try as much. You will fear failure, and you probably will fear that if you fail at something, that means something about who you are. But you do have the competence. You're just lacking the confidence. So what do we do about that? It's beyond the scope of what I can go into in this video of how exactly to do that, but from a broad perspective, you have to rearrange your internal representations of how you're creating your generalizations about yourself. And this is easier than what you think. This is not something that takes 10 years or 5 years or even a year. Once you understand how to do it, it's not difficult at all. And this is part of the self-concept model that my mentor created, but it is in depth. There's a lot of detail to it. So you can absolutely rearrange the information, not fake anything, rearrange the information that you have internally to then realize your competency at something. And then the confidence will immediately go up. Now, the last category is the most annoying. It's the low competence people who have high confidence. And this is probably the majority of the personal development industry. And unfortunately, when people start learning NLP and they start learning how to anchor and make themselves feel confident over nothing, they run into this problem. They don't have the competence, but they know how to sort of create a sense of confidence around it. It's not real confidence, but it's a kind of a sense of confidence, because you can anchor something like that. You can anchor that feeling, that state of confidence, and try to apply it to something. And so who cares if you're how much you think you're competent at something if you're actually not. There was a study done where they did math scores for kids from all over the world, and the US was included. Now, the US kids, their math scores, they were the most confident about their math ability, more confident than any of the other kids. They ranked number 1 in confidence. But in actual competence, I think they ranked number 38. So if you believe you are better than you are at something, is there any reason for you to work at that and become better at it? No, you already think you're great. So chances are you're not going to do that. You're not going to work at the skill. You're not going to become more competent. And anytime somebody gives you feedback that, hey, you're not as good as you think you are at this, maybe you should work harder on it, that person will be like, well, no, I'm confident. So they push that feedback away. They become insensitive to feedback. And this brings us to the whole fake it till you make it thing, which is unbelievably ubiquitous in personal development. This is not helpful. I mean, maybe it can be, and like, if you just need a little bit of a boost across the finish line on something, but you're already close and you already do have a lot of competence. But when you have no competence with something and you just think that you're going to fake it and somehow make it that way, these are the people who try to fly an airplane across the world after they've only had one lesson. Or, what if you met a doctor who hadn't even finished med school, had never done surgery, but they were very confident about their ability to do surgery, even though they had never done it. Would you allow that person to do surgery on you? I definitely wouldn't. I got into an argument one time with someone who I did a video about this, about fake it till you make it, and he came at me over and over like that. In fact, he had used fake it till you make it to become an incredible expert guitar player. I had no way of verifying whether or not he was actually an expert guitar player, but he explained to me that it was through fake it till you make it that he was able to do that. He went from not playing the guitar at all to an expert guitar player like in a year because he used fake it till you make it. And so I said to him, at some point, if you actually became an expert guitar player, you had to sit down and learn the basics. There's no way that you can bypass the basics in guitar or anything. So if you were faking it, that you were this expert guitar player, a true expert guitar player would not sit down and practice the basics. The true expert guitar player would be practicing something that would really challenge him or her to take their skills to the next level. So I said, did you ever have to sit down and and learn the basics? And he said, well, yes. And I said, okay, then what did you have to do in your mind that eventually where you had to realize, yes, I have to learn the basics? And he said, and then he finally relented and said, yes, I had to acknowledge that I was not an expert guitar player. I said, okay, you can future pace things. Like, I want to be an expert guitar player, and you can step into that, get a sense of it. I wouldn't stay in there. I would step back out because you want to have it out in front of you. So you move toward it. But faking confidence, faking that you already know how to do it, then why would you do it? Why would you learn something? Why would you cultivate the competence in something if you're already fooled yourself into believing that you're competent at it? So that's not real confidence.